I have several devices here on the bench. Take a look and see if you can spot what they all have in common. I'll give you a second. Did you figure it out? They're all multi-channel Z-Wave devices. In other words, each device has more than one endpoint that can be controlled independently. As I've worked with the IQ4 panel and Alarm.com, I found that they do support multi-channel Z-Wave devices, but the experience isn't always consistent. The available controls can vary depending on the type of device, and functionality may also change depending on whether the device is included using traditional Z-Wave mesh or Z-Wave long range. This is Darren with Save the Panel. In this series, we're going to test each of the multi-channel devices you see here on the bench and figure out exactly how they perform within the IQ panel and Alarm.com. For each device, we'll test everything you see here, everything from traditional mesh Z-Wave inclusion into the IQ4, including control from Alarm.com and the IQ4, automations in Alarm.com, scenes, schedules, and also we'll cover long-range inclusion in the IQ4. For our first test, we're going to start with the Zooz ZEN16 multi-relay, simply because that's the relay I've used the most that is multi-channel, and I've had the most experience with it. There are definitely some peculiarities, and it almost might become the baseline by which we measure all of these other devices. So let's go by the book. If we were to look to Alarm.com and ask what multi-channel Z-Wave is supported, we get a couple of different answers, but that's to be expected because this is new for them. There was a Z-Wave beta last year, and this has just become officially supported in March of 2026. And there's a great article here by Ryan at Surety that goes over that exactly. Ryan also documented that the Shelly Wave 2PM devices, specifically the Pro and non-Pro, should be functional. If we look over on Alarm.com and their compatible hardware list, which I find is, it's more of a suggestion of things that they've really tested and beat up, so to speak. If you look here, the only multi-channel that I could find is the Shelly Wave Pro Dimmer 2PM. That doesn't mean that's the only ones that are going to work, but that's what they're claiming will work. So admittedly, of all the devices that I have here for this series of videos, I only have one device that anyone said should actually work. So this is this is definitely a lab test, so to speak, but I think it's great to get the information out there so everyone knows, hey, if you were to buy one of these multi-channel devices today, what might be those limitations, what might be the things that you need to look out for. Okay, so we have the ZEN16 set up here. It's a very simple 12-volt DC input, and we have the 12 volts running through all three switches into this little test box, which has three LEDs. So relay 1 is red, relay 2 is yellow, relay 3 is green, so we'll know when they work. And I put a little switch on here just so we can prove that that is working. So let's go ahead and add this to the IQ4 via regular mesh.
Enter user code.
And I'm sure everyone knows how to do this, so I won't put too much detail there, but it is three button presses to do the inclusion mode on a ZEN16. So let's go ahead and add it. And there we are. And for this one, I'm going to just type in the code. Okay, so now we can see that the device has been added, and hopefully you can read that. I have such a hard time with the glare on these screens doing a video, but we have all three endpoints, so that worked. So I'm just going to give this some sort of meaningful name here.
Z16 is added to network successfully.
Okay, so I added it as a device called Z16, and I gave it each of the three relays, red, yellow, and green, as a name. So let's go and see if that appears. And there it is, Z16, red, yellow, and green. So if I turn on red, yellow, and green, so that seems to work. But the bug that I see with these devices most often is if you activate something on the high end, that the low end will light up as well. So sure enough, it did that. So I activated green lit up, but it shows on the panel as red being lit. Now what's interesting about that is it's really confusing for the IQ, because if I were to check that off and say turn red on, it says same mode. So it's not actually going to even fire the Z-Wave command to turn on, because it thinks it's already on when really it's not. So you'd have to cycle it off and on again to get that relay to turn on. So I would say that this is partial functionality. And there, if I turn on the second relay, which is yellow, again, red falsely thinks that it's active when it is not. So that's going to really kind of mess up confuse you, and also confuse some of your automations with that particular bug. Okay, so what about control from alarm.com? So here we are in alarm.com. Let's see if this has come over yet, and it did. There it is, Zen16, red, yellow, and green. This was actually an early bug in the beta testing where the names wouldn't come over, but that is something that was fixed. So let's see. If we turn red on, indeed we get red. Yellow, green. Okay, good. So we'll do that same test. We'll just turn these all off. We'll do the same test where, what if we turn just green on? Is red gonna be a phantom? Let's see what happens. So we just have green on. Red is not a phantom here in alarm.com, but let's look at the IQ panel. Look right here. The IQ panel does appear to have red looking like it's on, but it's really not. So that phantom behavior carries through on that IQ4 regardless of who actually commands that relay to be on. So very interesting. Okay, so next up, let's try to command this with a sensor action. So we'll pick a contact sensor, and I have some things emulated here in the lab. So we're going to say that the front door is open. We are going to turn on the green light until the door is closed. And we're going to call this front door green test and save. So we'll give that a little bit to marinate and send that rule down to the panel. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever done this, but in a regular single channel Z-Wave device, this is pretty instant. It runs on the IQ panel. I use this actually for my pantry. There's a door sensor, an IQ door sensor on my pantry door, and I open it up, the light turns on, close the door, the light turns off. It's like a refrigerator. Works great. Multi-channel, I have seen some significant delays. So don't worry, when we do this test, I will speed up the sequence as needed. So I think we might be good now. So I went here to the activity screen. I'm going to go over now. This is off camera, but I'm going to open that front door. You should be able to hear the panel speak.
Front door open.
Okay, so the front door is open. All right, there, now we have the light. So what was that, about 17 seconds of a delay? It's pretty good, actually. I've had this with this Zen16 be, sometimes it never shows up, but typically it could be 40 seconds or more. I'm gonna close that door.
Front door closed.
And we'll see the delay to turn it off. And that wasn't too bad, a few seconds. Let's do that one more time.
Front door open.
And I think it's these subsequent calls that get slower. My guess is that this is going through the alarm.com cloud, and the cloud doesn't want to have so many open-close sensor actions over and over again. So it's trying to save itself from, in essence, a denial of service attack against itself. Okay, we're right about a minute, and we still don't have anything from that, so I'm going to bail on this. Now, what's interesting is the front door open is not even here in the activity log, and that might prove my guess, so to speak, that for some reason multi-channel are going through the cloud, or at least it is with this device. So let's go on to something different. Let's do an automation rule instead of basing it on a sensor. Let's go ahead and base it on something like the panel itself being armed. So we're going to do security panel is armed stay, and we're going to pick a different color. So armed stay, we're going to light up yellow. We're going to turn on yellow for armed stay. And let's just say for giggles, we want that for 15 seconds before turning off. So this would be arm stay test yellow. And we will save that. Okay, let me close my front door first before we arm this.
Front door closed.
Okay, so let's go ahead and I missed that. Was that green light? That green light finally caught up with us and then turned off? Interesting. I think I missed that. Oh well. So let's go ahead and arm stay and see if we get a yellow light. I'm going to turn off my screen capture here.
Select ARM system type. ARM stay.
There we go. Almost immediately it lit up. Now our rule only says to run it for 15 seconds. So disarming the panel shouldn't necessarily turn it off, so you turn it off because of the 15 seconds.
System is now disarmed.
And let's just do this one more time just to be sure.
Select ARM system type. ARM stay.
Look, it's instantaneous. So that works very well.
System is now disarmed.
Let's now build a scene and see if it works with a scene. Go back here to alarm.com. Actually, I've already built this scene while nobody was looking, but so we have a Zen16 red scene when we're just simply turning on the red LED, and we have an off scene where we're very simply turning off the LED. So let's go ahead and run the red scene. Look at that, it's instant, and then the red off scene also instant. So that works. That works very well. I am, curious though. Why not? Let's just modify this to be yellow, and we'll turn on just the yellow. So yellow is certainly lit up, but if we look back on our IQ panel, well, we still have that issue where red is showing active when red is not. So, so scenes definitely work better than automations, especially the contact automations. Okay, now we're on to the schedule. So let's create a schedule that turns this on, and you can see I had one here that I had tested before. Let me clear that out. I want to save you some pain here. I actually had created a schedule like a full too soon, so I wasn't ready to monitor the output and then confuse myself, so I did it a second time. Bear with me. Let's try that again. I'm going to change the schedule to 5:10 p.m. and we're going to make it only green. So that's for 5:10, and then of course I'll go over here and turn the lights off. The panel says it's 5:10. My clock says 5:10. Ah, Look at that. We have all three relays turned on instead of just the one that we commanded. So let's see what the activity looks like. So here we are at 5:10. So this is just saying that the lights have been turned on. There is no command in this activity log, and that is a frustration with this log. It doesn't have the greatest level of detail. But certainly if we look at our automation, the schedule was at 5:10 to just turn on the green, and it actually turned on all three. So I think scheduling, unfortunately, is a little bit of a failure as well. All right, so at this point, let's go ahead and try Z-Wave LR inclusion. So we're going to go ahead and take this out of the panel
Enter
and
user code.
join it as LR. And 3 presses.
Z16 is deleted from the network successfully.
Okay, 3 presses, so it is out of there. So when I do my LR joins, I like to power the device off, scan Smart Start, get that part done, and then power it on and let it auto include. So I'm going to reach over here out of frame and turn off my 12-volt power supply. Okay, well, scanning that took a lot of doing. I had to take a picture of it with my iPhone and hold that up to the screen, but it's coming in here as a light. Doesn't, at the moment anyway, show the fact that it's multi-channel, but let's go in here to the little gear and make sure it is LR, and it is Z-Wave long range. So we're going to just give this a name of Z16 LR and say add. Okay, so there it is in our Smart Start list, not in network. So I'm going to reach over and apply my 12 volts of power, and we should see this include. And let's see.
Adding Z16LR to the network.
Okay, so it sees it, it's doing its add. Now, for those of you that might not have done this, there's some amount of time between where it says adding and it says it's been added. It's usually pretty fast. I find that with the the multi-channel LR devices, it takes longer. And it may or may not express, well, spoiler alert, may or may not express all of the output channels. But it does work as a binary switch in my experience for most of this stuff. But we'll see here in a second what the Zen16 does. Little tip, while you're waiting for this, if you lose patience or can't remember where you were, if you go into Edit Device and choose the device, here's the Zen16 LR, and you hit the pencil and the screen is blank, that means it's not done its interview process yet. So you can kind of go in that way to check as well if you're unsure, hey, did I hear it say it was done or not? That's a way to take a look.
Z16LR is added to network successfully.
Okay, so we're finally added. Yay. So let's go ahead and look. Sorry, that's my other system making noise, not this one. But so here we see the device, and look, we don't have any of the endpoints. We only have one. So I'm sure that if, let's see, here's the Zen16. If we turn it on, all three turn on at the same time, and all three turn off at the same time. So definitely something going on here when it does its LR interview. It's not expressing all of those channels or endpoints in its interview. Not sure why, but I think LR inclusion, not so useful unless, of course, you do want to command all three of your relays, in this case, to turn on and off simultaneously. And also here in alarm.com, it is showing up as just one device. And if we turn it on, it does work, but it turns on all three endpoints. So in summary, the Zen16, when joined to an IQ4 and alarm.com, did have some functionality, but also had some challenges. For IQ4 mesh inclusion, went fine. Control, we did see the channel 1 status can be incorrect if a higher level channel is turned on first. Control from the alarm.com cloud was correct and fully functional. The automations in alarm.com based on a sensor had some delay, and that delay could not be predicted, which can be a little frustrating. However, automations based on the panel arming seem to be working fine, as did alarm.com scenes. Schedules, however, in alarm.com activated all 3 endpoints rather than the endpoint that was actually part of the schedule. And lastly, including the Zen16 with the IQ4 using LR, we found that it did not express all 3 endpoints and instead joined the device as one endpoint. So it was functional in that it turns on and off, but it does so for all 3 relays simultaneously. Stay tuned for the next videos in this Z-Wave multi-channel series coming soon. I also have a growing backlog of devices and ideas to test, including that NAMI security system, which I'm very excited about. So there's plenty of more videos on the way. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of them. If this video helped you, please hit the like button and share it with someone else who might find it useful. And if you have a question, a device you'd like to see tested, or just want to say hello, leave a comment below. I read and personally respond to everyone. Until next time, I'll see you online.